Oh, that looks good. Okay, how's that? Everybody hear me okay? Oh, there it goes. Okay. You can now. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with prayer, and then we'll just jump right into this. Well, thank you, Lord, for this day you've given us. Thank you for the many blessings we've had here. You're here just a week ago, and Lord, we're back again. Thank you for us being here again. Lord, bless us as we go into the message, and bless us as we go into this week to come. We ask in your name. Amen. Okay, so title of the sermon is We've Been Robbed. And poor Rob called me last night, and he says, so what's the title of your sermon? I want to match the music to it. And I said, We've Been Robbed. He's like, when did that happen? I said, no, the sermon is We've Been Robbed. He goes, I don't know what to put to that. So, good music this morning. So, we've been robbed, everybody, and I there's a movie I like, and one of the characters says, we've been robbed, we've been swindled, we've been conned, bamboozled, flim-flam. And we have. It happens to us all the time, right? Think of it this way. If you've been on vacation, and you come home, and you've had a nice vacation, you come in the house, and the door opens a little too easy. Uh-oh. And you go in, and your stereo's gone, your TV's gone, your computer's gone, you go upstairs, the heirlooms are gone. Not a good feeling. Horrible feeling. It's a sunk in your stomach feeling. Now, if you come in and there's groceries on the counter, that means Alan Radke's been there. So, Alan, you got worked into the sermon. So, that's... Oh, I got my mask on. Thanks, Alan. Oh. Now, hey. Oh, and that feels so much better. That feels so much better. You hear me okay? Okay. Thanks, Alan. What's that? No. No? How's that? There we go. Okay. Good job. So, and thanks, Alan. You get that sinking feeling in your stomach. Other things can happen. So, I've had this happen to me. I went online, onto eBay, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm going to order that. And I get a hold of the guy, and I send him my money, and nothing happens, nothing arrives. I go to check on him. That merchant's not there anymore. I'm just out the money. So I got conned. I mean, one is a physical robbery, and this other one, he came in and just conned me. And I gave the thief my money. And he left with it. We've got a new kind of theft out there now, and I've had this happen to me too, where I was at a motel, and somebody got a hold of my information. That's identity theft, right? Get home, I just spent thousands of dollars that I hadn't intended to spend. So that can happen too. They can go in and use your identity and clean out your checking account, and that's another horrible feeling. And it's just this robbery that has happened ever since sin came to this earth. We've been robbed. We've been conned. We've been stolen from. So let's kind of explore that a little bit. So our verse today is John 10:10. This comes out of the King James. It says, "The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and destroy. I am come that they might have life and they might have it more abundantly." So we're going to talk about that. The thief comes to not but to steal and kill and destroy. So Jesus addressed that, saying, "But I've come." He gives the opposite, the hypothesis and the null hypothesis. Okay. Oh, that's kind of hard to see. So the thief comes, and we're not talking about the physical thief, are we? We're talking about the spiritual thief. That's what Jesus was talking about. Physical thieves come and they steal our stuff, right? And they operate in the physical realm. And spiritual thieves, robbers, operate in the spiritual realm. The two can often coincide. You've got sometimes where both the physical thief and the spiritual thief are working together. There it goes. Okay, so when physical things are stolen, sometimes they're easy to replace. Like in the first example I talked about, you come home, you can replace the TV, you can replace the stereo, but you may not be able to replace those family heirlooms. your grandmother's brooch, or these very valuable things that are valuable to you on a personal level, not necessarily a money level. And you're always going to come out on the wrong end because the insurance companies never fully replace these things. You've got deductibles and things. But physical things are easier to replace. When we're talking about the spiritual things, those are hard to replace. And I can tell you from the last few weeks, I feel like some of my joy has been stolen. All you got to do is watch TV or read the paper. Doesn't take much, and it steals your joy. It can steal your happiness. It can certainly steal your peace. Who feels peaceful lately? Does it feel like there's a peaceful, happy world out there? It certainly doesn't. It feels like we're coming toward the end times where peace is going to be fleeting. Health. Spiritual robbers can steal your health. They can give you all kinds of problems. Anxiety. Things that come from anxiety. What kinds of stuff? You've got depression. You've got physical ailments, ulcers. All kinds of things can come out of the anxiety from someone stealing your peace, your happiness. And frankly, sometimes it feels like the world is intentionally going after us personally. Doesn't it feel that way? It feels like they're coming after, you personally. Why are they picking on me? The whole world is picking on me. Well, it's not just you. We're kind of all in the same boat here. There we go. Okay, the physical thief steals our stuff. Cars, our belongings, our money, our identity. The physical thief can live among us. When I was in the Army, the worst thing you can be is a barracks thief. The guy that is in the barracks who steals from his buddies in the barracks. That was the worst guy in the unit. And when they caught you, it was not a good thing. But they live among us. But we can protect ourselves from physical thieves, right? We can take some steps. We can put alarms in. We can put in a big dog. Or lots of little dogs. There's no better alarm I found than the dogs at my house. All I got to do is pull in the driveway. I know you're there because of a mad scramble across the wooden floor as they skid up to the back door and start barking. So I've got an alarm that's built in and it doesn't have a mute button. We can put bars on our windows. We can put locks on our doors. I saw somebody in the parking lot just a little bit ago who has a club. Who put the club on their car steering wheel? Who is that? He's got a club across the steering wheel of his car. So taking measures to protect themselves against the physical thief. Something we have to do. It's a shame that we have. Who remembers when we used to be able to leave our cars and doors and stuff unlocked? Back in the day. You just didn't think of that. Would you think of it now? No, you lock your stuff up. If you want to have it, you're going to lock it up. We have this spiritual thief out here. So who is the spiritual thief? Perfect, the devil. We talked about it. It was so cool. The class this morning really dovetails into what we're talking about today. So I was reading an article by a pastor who said the spiritual thief, that just refers to the Pharisees. And the guy was just so wrong. It wasn't the Pharisees that Jesus was referring to. And we'll see it in this next one in 1 Peter verses 5. 1 Peter 5 verse 8. Be sober, vigilant, because your adversary is the devil, as a roaring lion, walks around seeking whom he may devour. That's pretty clear. The devil is the spiritual robber. But he's also assisted by dark powers. So he's got, Satan's got his angels. Satan's got his people on earth who work for him, who are aiding and abetting the devil. And that's going to be a little interesting. We'll come to that here in a minute. Who those people who aid and abet him are. The devil is patient. He doesn't have to get you today. He doesn't have to get you tomorrow. He can take a long time to steal your happiness, to steal your joys, to steal your faith, if at all possible. He can take his time. He's sly. He knows what trips our triggers, what things appeal to us. He knows those things. We should know those things too. We'll come to that too. And theft works best when the unsuspecting victims remain unaware of what's happening. So in our lesson today, we talked about the children of Israel who started getting culturally involved with those in whose land they were occupying. And what happened? First, the little sins, the physical sins, the physical things that they liked, and they were led away spiritually. The thief got them. He had the right hook. So the thief is looking for the right thing to get you. And if you're unsuspecting, it makes it all that much easier. I remember the screw tape letters. That's one of the things he's looking for. Go for the things when they're unexpected. If you want to really understand how the devil thinks, that's probably one of the best things to read is the screw tape letters. Because he's discussing it with his nephew, telling him how to ruin people's faith, how to ruin their lives, how to ruin their peace and happiness. Okay. And let's get it to click here. Click. Come on. There it goes. Okay, so in this verse, it says, be sober, vigilant, because your adversary talks about whom he may devour. And he's got three ministries in John 10. The thief comes not but for to steal, kill, and destroy. Steal. He is stealing our blessings. He's stealing all the things that God has given us. All the good things that God gives us. The devil's mission seems to be to steal those away from us. You know, we're saved, we confess our sins, we have that joy, and what's the first thing the devil tries to do but to pull that joy away from us? Second ministry is this spiritual thief kills. You know, he can physically kill, you know, by the things that he does. I think of the example of Job when the Lord said, you can do anything to this man but kill him. So that leads me to believe that the devil can kill people. I think he cannot do it without the Lord's permission, though. But he kills hope. That's probably the worst thing, is Satan kills hope. And once hope is gone, you're hopeless and helpless. That's when the horrible things like suicide happen. So the thief kills, the spiritual thief kills. And the third thing is he destroys things. He destroys people's lives. It gives the Satan no more pleasure than to destroy lives. And you see it over and again in the Bible. He'll take one person in a family and gets that person, and it's just like cancer, and it just keeps growing and growing and destroys the faith and the hope and the happiness within the family. We saw it in today's lesson where they started bringing those things in, and they had to take severe means, and they cut that cancer out. It was a tough lesson, but they did it. Because if they didn't, they were facing destruction. Look at the people around the Israelites when they went into Canaan, who'd given themselves completely over. They were faced with destruction. The devil set them up, and they were going to be destroyed. We don't want that for us. We want happiness. We want peace. You know, we don't want to be destroyed. Not only do we not want to be destroyed, we want to take our friends and family with us. They should have the same gifts that we have. We talk about that a lot about our kids. We don't want to see them destroyed. But Satan is working really hard on these new generations to pull them away and to lead them into things that will lead to their destruction. We don't want that. Okay, the thief, having trouble reading long distance, so we'll do it here. So he's always coming and going. The spiritual robber is walking up and down, seeking an opportunity, a weak spot, a vulnerability, and that's what Satan does. He will keep working at you until he finds that weak spot. You know, and it can be different for anybody. You know, somebody might be something as simple as food. It could be anything. But you might have a weak spot, and he's going to work until he finds it. And physical and spiritual robbers come unannounced. They don't say, hey, Dean, your house is next. I'm going to be there tomorrow night. Because if you would prepare for that, right? You know, if you knew that the thief was coming, the Bible talks about, if you knew he was coming, you'd bar the doors. You'd lock up. You take care to make sure it doesn't happen. Physical robbers are the same way. They watch you. They watch. They know when you're home. They know when you're not home. They know when it's safe to go and do the things they do. I recently had an experience where I'm in public health, and we have trailers full of emergency stuff like masks and gowns and booties and gloves and tables and chairs so we can set up clinics anywhere. We've got them pre-positioned around. And someone stole our trailer and took that stuff. It has no value to it out on the street. I mean, you're not going to sell a bunch of gauze. I mean, it's just not something that's on the, but he watched and knew when that was vulnerable, cut the locks, and took the whole trailer. Gone. We did get it back. But often that doesn't happen. You don't get that stuff back. And like lions, they're always hungry for prey. So a spiritual thief doesn't get tired. You know, his stomach doesn't get full. Your physical thief may say, and C.S. Lewis kind of had a quote along these lines, the robber baron may eventually give you a break because he's satiated. But the spiritual thief will never give up on you. He's going to be after you all the time. And if possible, he's going to try to rob you of your salvation through sin. Or keep you from being saved in the first place. Get you so mired and so hopeless and so desperate. He thinks that you won't be saved. Unfortunately for him, sometimes when we hit that bottom point, that's when we're ready to be saved. And that's when Jesus steps in and comes back with the second part of John 10:10. And we'll come to that. Because he says, I come to give life, not to take it away. So don't give up when you have these spiritual robbers coming hard after you. It should be expected. It should be welcomed, in fact, because it means that you're on the hit list. If you're doing something right, if you're doing the wrong things, I don't think Satan has to expend a lot of energy to keep you in the wrong things. But if you're doing the right thing, he's going to expend a lot of energy coming after you. He's got his tools. And I apologize for how small this is. But one of the big tools he has is doubt. That reads pretty well up there. But Mark 4:40, Jesus gets after his disciples. He says, why are you so fearful? How come you have no faith? Don't doubt. If Jesus has you, he has you. You got to hang on to that. Doubt is one of the things that the Israelites in our lesson today had problems with all through their Exodus experience. They would doubt. They would see things and they would know it. And it just drives me crazy that they could see those things that God did for them day after day, year after year. And as soon as they just wander off like herding cats. I have great respect for Moses, that poor guy. Fear, and we talked about this. I talked about this at length last time I spoke about the power that fear has over our lives. And fear right now seems to be the thing that's being directed at us the most. I mean, think about it. You've got COVID and climate change. All these things are in the news pushing fear at you every day. And people are making their decisions every day based on fear, not based on what they know and what they can hang on to. God's got us. We don't have to be afraid. You know, when I was in Iraq, got to thinking about it after my first month, 2 months maybe. I got to realize that God's got me. I don't have to be afraid. After that, the deployment went way easier because I wasn't afraid. Because no matter what happens, God had me. Discouragement. This is a tough one. And this is where we help each other. The person with a broken spirit has lost courage. We're talking about that in Sabbath school class today. Sometimes you're the only person in the room with the belief. Sometimes you're the only person in the room who can stand up and say, no. And that takes courage. But if you're discouraged and you feel like you've been beat up and pushed and pushed and pushed, you may not stand up and say those things. And they need to be said. Those spirits who are discouraged need revival. And that's where all of us come into that. We'll get to that. Sadness. And this, I put this in, there's a little controversy in this one here. Sadness. And this pastor I was looking at was saying that the joy and happiness of Christians have nothing to do with their circumstances. Because at the end of the day, whether positive or negative, all circumstances will fade away. Yes and no. I think about Job. He was not happy all the time through his experience. You know, His family gets wiped out. He gets financially wiped out. His friends were not encouraging. His friends came to him and said, why don't you just give up? His wife was the same way. Why don't you just give up? I don't know what you did. Might as well give up. He wasn't especially happy, I don't think. Certainly not going through the trials and tribulations. But I think, it's my feeling that deep down inside, he still had the joy because he knew the Lord was going to take care of him. I think those people that we see who have in crisis, or I see it in the Middle East, where people are executed for their faith, are singing hymns, even as they're being executed. They've got that joy. But it's not a happy occasion unless you think of it as, I'm going to go be with the Lord. My time is done. But sadness, that sadness that goes on day after day after day, is like a cancer that takes over your whole body. And you need to address that. If you feel yourself getting into that, and I talked about that in my message on fear, it's okay to have the Lord and have a prayer and have a doctor. Amen. So if that's okay, go get checked out. Sadness is the thing that may have as much to do with your physical body as it does with your spiritual life. But get it checked out. Spiritual identity theft. This is kind of a new thought, and I just put this in yesterday. So I was thinking as I was driving about identity theft and about what's happening today. And I was thinking about Antifa and some of these riots and things that are going on. And I was thinking about, on both sides of the aisle, why the violence? Why this thing that's going on? And it's spiritual identity theft, I think. I think the spiritual thief has robbed them of their identity of who am I. And he says, you're not that person. You're not a child of God. But here's something else to look at. Try this thing, or try that thing, or try this other thing. He tries to get what's real to that person replaced with the counterfeit. And that's one of the greatest tools Satan has, is he takes whatever God has given us, that God is good. It could be marriage. It could be the sexual relationships inside of marriage, and he replaces it with other things that are counterfeit and they're not real, and he leads us astray and takes our identity away from us. It's counterfeit. It's a con job. It's the same as that guy on eBay that's selling you something that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. What's real is who you are and who God sees you as. That's the real thing. How does it happen? Well, we've talked about what he does and what he takes. But how does this happen? Proverbs 29:24 says, to be a partner of the thief is to hate one's own life. One hears the victim's curse. Who's the victim? The one who's getting stolen from. But discloses nothing, doesn't say anything. Too often, we're the ones who allow this to happen. I would say in the majority of cases, we allow the theft to take place. In some cases, we aid it. Our friends, Job's friends, weren't any help. They were partners with the thief. But so many times, it's us by ourselves. We lose sight. Peter, losing sight of Jesus, started to fall away. When we lose sight and we lose track of what's going on, we allow ourselves to be misled. The Israelites, in our lesson today, allowed themselves to be misled. They were told, God, the first 3 chapters that did run, Moses went over what they should have learned. And yet as soon as they got there off, they went wandering away. Did it to themselves. And what happened? 24,000 were lost. And they did it to themselves. So how do you stop spiritual theft? Who is that handsome guy? Oh, let's get to the next slide. I got it going here. Who is that guy? Here's that dude. That's me, guys. That's from a couple of years ago. That's me in all my body armor. Okay?
That's more than a couple.
Yeah, that's more than a couple. Thanks, Dean. Oh, thanks. All right. But if you look close, you'll see what's going on. From here up, I'm wearing armor. I had armor, groin armor. I had armor around my waist. I had armor plates under my arms. I had armor plates front and back. I had armor around my collar. I had a helmet. I was armored up, right? This bottom thing there. Put on the whole armor of God. You might be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. That's in Ephesians. We learned that verse as kids, right? Put on the whole armor of God. But you got to back up a little bit. And the first thing I have here is set an alarm. You got to know when things are going wrong. If your joy is gone, if your peace is gone, if you're laying there at night and your heart is troubled, that's the alarm, folks. That's when you need to start thinking, what is going on, and try to solve the problem. I was talking to a group of people yesterday who have great intentions on something they want to build, something they want to do, and I sat back and I said, okay, whoa. What problem are we trying to solve? What's the alarm that's going off that tells us we need to do this? What's the problem we're trying to address? Set that alarm. Know when you're being attacked. Don't be unaware. So how does that happen? You got to study. You got to know this stuff. And before you can wear that body armor, you got to build strength. I can tell you, before I could wear that body armor all day, we did a lot of working out. First you start off with just the chest rig, and you hike. And then you add other pieces, and you hike some more, and you're doing miles. And then you add a backpack. And then you add your ammo, and your grenades, your water, your radio. All those things that add up, you're looking right there at about 80 pounds of gear. Okay? But you don't do that right off the bat. You got to study, and you got to build strength. Building strength allows you to put on that whole armor, because you'll know each piece and how it's used. I mean, I could have all that stuff. If I don't know how to put it together, it doesn't make any difference. It all comes in a bag laying on a bench. You got to know how to put it together. You got to be able to take your study and put it into practice. And then back to the discouragement piece. There is safety in numbers. This group I'm looking at here, that's our safety in numbers, folks. You got to have the interaction. And I can tell you one of the worst things that has happened to us, and that's one of the reasons I went on my road trip this week, is because relationships over Zoom are damaged. We do not have that personal connection anymore, though we try to make it up with Zoom, and it's a way. It robs us of that connectedness that we have as people. We can get products done. We can get together and collaborate and do some products and that kind of stuff. But it's those conversations that we have in person, that personal touch, when somebody says, I'm not doing well. And that person can sit down with you and talk to you and put an arm around you, or go have a cup of coffee with you. That's what gets us through. That's the safety in numbers. And when you're having a spiritual struggle, somebody else might have gone through the same thing. And then you're like, you know what? I dealt with that. There's an example I use. So this soldier's walking along and he falls in a hole. And the commander walks by and says, "Soldier, you need to get out of that hole." And he walks off. The soldier's still in the hole. And the NCO shows up and he says, "This is how you get out of the hole." And he tells him what to do. The kid's still in the hole. Then another soldier comes up and he jumps down the hole and says, "Let me show you how I got out." And gets him out of the hole. Safety with the people who love and appreciate you is so important. You got to have that. Safety in numbers. Set that alarm. That's so important. Know when the devil is coming after you. Know what his tricks are. Okay. Last slide. I didn't go 35 or 40 slides this time. Surrender to Christ. John 10:10. That's the second half of this verse. Such a simple thing. Basically 2 verses today is what we've had. So powerful. Second half of 10:10. I am come that they might have life and they might have it more abundantly. And if you read John 10, he's getting after the Pharisees. He's talking about his people, that they might have life and have it more abundantly, because the Pharisees were pushing him down. And he says later on in the chapter, my sheep, I can come to it here. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, they know me. That's the identity. They found their identity with Christ. And I give unto them eternal life, that they shall never perish, neither shall any man pluck them out of my hand. You're safe. You're there. You know, he's not letting you out. No man is going to pluck you away from the Lord. You know, you are there. And then again in the middle here, so I'm jumping around here. Don't be afraid, fear not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, and I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee in the right hand of my righteousness. Isaiah. Now, Isaiah talks about this a lot. If you want to get uplifted, go to Isaiah and read. Just read it through. Because over and over he says, I am going to hold you. You're going to mess up, and I'm going to come back and get you. I am going to bring you back to me time after time after time. And he brings them back. The Israelites on their exodus. Poor Moses, he's like, what did I do for you to stick me with these people? You know, Moses got frustrated. And he had some doubts too, right? But he didn't leave. He stayed in God's hand. And God kept bringing the Israelites back to him time after time. And it was brutal sometimes. And there were hard lessons about, giving in to the spiritual thief. But they learned. And they were gleaned. And that is what's happening to us today. We are in the end times, I think. We're going through a lot of what the Israelites were doing in Deuteronomy. The promised land is there. It's on the horizon. It's on the horizon. But we've got a space to get through, folks. And if Satan can, he's going to pull us aside. He's going to steal our ability to get there. But we have in here the ability to stop him. We know how it ends. We've got the tools. God's there to give us strength. We need to just claim that and move out smartly and do what we need to do. That's it. So, that wasn't too long. I want to thank everybody for being here, and thank the pastor for giving me this chance to talk. So let's close with prayer. Lord, thank you for this day you've given us. Thank you that you are out there giving us strength. When the thief comes in the night, we can be ready. When the thief comes and has stolen some of our things, you're prepared to work with us and take us back and give those things back to us, peace and hope and happiness and faith. Lord, be with us as we go into this next week and have us keep you uppermost in our minds and rely on those things that bring us those gifts. You're so happy to give us the gifts. We just have to claim them and stay tight. Like we learned this morning, cleave to you. Be with us as we go our separate ways. Be with us this afternoon and praise you. We ask in your name. Amen.